Do y'all want to talk about the science behind perms? Because I do. Fun fact, in my introduction to biochemistry course, one of the first things that we learned was the biochemistry of how perms work. And the first thing we talked about in order to learn that was the chemical structures and chemical compounds that create hair. So, what creates hair? Well, about 90% of our hair is made up of this protein called keratin. Now, like we mentioned before, keratin is a protein, and proteins are built out of these little things called amino acids. There are a total of 20 different amino acids. However, the main one that I want to identify whenever talking about perms is this amino acid called cysteine. Cysteine specifically is important because keratin contains a really high amount of cysteine. In fact, it contains anywhere between 7 to 13% cysteine in total. And cysteine is very important to the perm process, mainly because it consists of the element sulfur. As sulfur goes through a lot in order to get you your beautiful perm curls. You see, whenever it comes to keratin and hair going through the perm process, it first starts in this initial relaxed state in which there are multiple what we call disulfide bonds, which are just bonds between two sulfur atoms. Now, in order to initiate the perm process, what a stylist will add to your hair typically is a reducing agent called ammonium thioglycolate. And in simple terms, what the ammonium thioglycolate does is it breaks those disulfide bonds and adds in some hydrogens for those sulfurs that were once connected to each other to then bond to. And because those disulfide bonds are now broken, your hair will start to change its position and curl. And then what happens is once you reach the perm curl, your stylist has to stop the curling process. So in order to do that, they add what's called a neutralizing agent. A lot of stylists use hydrogen peroxide as a neutralizing agent, but there are a few others that you can use. And when that neutralizing agent is applied to the hair, the cysteine amino acids in your hair will basically oxidize, thus reforming these disulfide bonds and locking your hair into that curly state.